Welcome, everybody, to the Enlightened podcast. My name is Tim, your host, and I'm joined today by two very special guests / perhaps future regular joiners of the podcast. I don't know. We have Archer, we have Natan, two road to nationals qualifying / winning folks. They'll do better justice to themselves than I will. Natan, why don't you go first? You're a member of Team Galaxy Brain. We've mentioned you on previous podcasts, I believe. Tell us about yourself. What's your favorite deck? Who's your favorite hero? Besides Azalea, I know you have a soft spot.
Yeah, well, I don't know if Azalea is really the hero that I'm known for. My name's Natan. I've started playing Fab with the release of Tales of Aria. In the spoiler season, I saw Oldhim, and as someone who's played just purely control decks and Magic for years, I saw Oldhim and I was like, this is exactly what I want to be doing in this game. And I've just played Oldhim nonstop since then, which I think is just about a year now. I have a lot of opinions about how to build Oldhim, how to play Oldhim, and I think I do a pretty good job at it.
I will agree with that. I, as a fellow Oldhim aficionado, I often disagree with you and then realize that I was wrong the whole time. So, okay. So just real quick before we move on to Archer, two questions. What have your results this season been with Oldhim? And then also, if you were to compare Oldhim to a color pie section in Magic, what color pie of Magic control would it be?
So I went to 2 RTNs. I got second place at one of them, losing what I think was a pretty close Oldhim mirror in the finals because of a pretty big miscalculation on just how good Tunic is, basically. And in another RTN, I made top 8, but then immediately lost to Archer over here at the quarterfinals. So I do have my invite, but I just missed on the Icelander Cold Foil. As far as the color pie, I think Oldhim is probably white-black. He's very grindy, very resilient. Discard effects with like Winter's Bite. I think the Ice React basically fits the same thing. And I don't think he has enough trickery to be considered blue, even though, as you might have guessed, that is a big thing for me in Magic, given that I'm a control player.
Yeah, I agree. I think, not to go too far down into that rabbit hole of the game that is not to be named, except we named it twice. Yeah, I agree. White-black is, I think, a good comparison. Speaking of the person that you lost to in multiple top 8s, Archer, we wanted to get you on. You actually won one of your you're really bright. You're lighting right now. You actually won a PQ during the ProQuest season on Chain, just sending him off into the sunsets. I wanted to get you on a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago at this point, when that happened, but it just didn't work out. So you won a ProQuest, and then this season you're also tearing it up. What are your results so far?
So I've top 2 RTNs, 1 draft, 1 CC, and then I got top 8 at 2 others, 1 other draft and 1 other CC, and conceded to homies so they could get their invite.
Yeah,
including myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you would have destroyed him anyway, so it's fine.
Nah. So for that tournament, I was playing Viserai, and I don't like playing Viserai into Oldhim. It's like really, really hard.
Oh yeah.
So I actually don't think my chances of winning that tournament were very good anyway.
Yeah, right.
I think the matchup is Oldhim favored, but I by no means felt like I was that certain in my victory, which is why, I even wanted the concession. It would have felt better to get it by winning, but I just wanted to make sure I get that invite to nationals. So I was like, yeah, that sounds easier and more comfortable. So let's just do that.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. And I think, I hope that among teammates and friends that we would all extend the same courtesy. But apparently that's a hot topic in the Flesh and Blood community lately, is on Twitter. There's much discourse, but we won't get into all that. So you won, and when you say topped, I just want to clarify for our listeners, when you say topped, you won 2 Road to Nationals. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to make sure I knew how many people's dreams you had taken after already qualifying. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. And you did 1 in draft and 1 in CC, and you topped 2 others in CC, or no, 1 each, right? 1 in draft and CC, right?
Yep, two each total.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And yeah, I think Natan and I can both, and the rest of the team can probably, attest to the amount of hours and hard work you've put into the decks that you play. So well deserved, and same for Natan as well. Like, we can all, like, if we have a question about Guardian or about math, Natan is usually our guy. Yeah. What's your guys' like flavor text though, right? Like, you got your card, you got your abilities. Do you want to add any flavor into your character before we move on to a couple more topics?
I guess, as Tim sort of touched on, I am a math master. I got my master's in math pretty recently, and as you might guess, in order to do something like that, you sort of have to like math a lot, and I do. Big passion of mine. Now moving away from school and maybe like some real world job, but honestly, I might just be a teacher for math anyway and just not ever stop doing that.
It's the most legit pyramid scheme there is. I love it. Someday you could be teaching your own class, Natan.
I would really like to not teach math the way that I was taught it, like throughout the, what do you call it, primary school, middle school, high school, that whole section of my life. I think there's a lot of things I would change. I doubt I'll have the power to change them if I'm a teacher, but I hope to like say things differently, emphasize different things, that kind of thing, if I do have that power.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, as somebody who is somebody who did not do so well in math as a kid, because I had some kind of weird teachers, that would be awesome. What about you, Archer? What's your jam? What's your deal? What's your flavor text?
I mean, I'm clearly the face, right? We've already talked about this, yes. But I'm just Archer, the face.
Yeah.
Previously it was a joke because I'm pretty and not actually good at this game, but then I took that to, oh yeah, exactly. But then I started like winning things all of a sudden, and maybe a little more appropriate, but it still feels kind of weird.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna get some. Yeah, we're gonna get all our Archer branded T-shirts coming in pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that merch. Well, what you, besides the face, you what that wasn't the question. What do you do? Like, just a real quick, give it like a 30-second or less. Who's Archer?
So I'm an electrical engineering student right now. I'll be graduating soon and getting a big boy job like Natan. I haven't played many other card games before this. I think that's like kind of unique to me, as I've never like ever played Magic. But I played Netrunner, which is a card game that a lot of people like heard about and heard it was really good, but not a lot of people have played it. But I think there's a lot of parallels between Netrunner and Fab that really drew me to it initially. And I've been really happy to grind my teeth into this game.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm in that camp. I have never played a game of Netrunner, but I've heard nothing but excellent things about it. Well, I mean, circling back to like Flesh and Blood proper, like I want to get into a little bit of the details of the events that you guys went to, the decks that you brought, any sort of tech decisions that you made, and then we'll transition that into like kind of the meta going forward as well, because not to spoil anything, but the meta has changed a good bit from like a couple weeks ago when you guys were crushing it and are still crushing it, but from when you guys were crushing those events to now, I feel like the meta's shifted quite a bit. So when you guys were going into the ProQuest into the Road to National season, right? Like Natan, we knew you were going to be on Oldham, right? But like what tech choices did you make, and how did you adjust your deck to fight the meta that you were expecting?
I think just in general, Oldhim has two big picture game plans, which are you can go fatigue, and Oldhim is obviously the best hero in the game at that. Arguably the only hero that can do it well, but like the full end of the spectrum. Like other heroes can fatigue you, but you sort of have to let them. You have to attack or defend, or like in certain ways, or like your own hero has to struggle into fatigue in a certain way. Although I'm saying that as the Oldhim player, so maybe I totally have that wrong. But so Oldhim can fatigue is one option. And so looking at the popular decks, initially I was thinking I'm going to fatigue Fi and Viserai and Briar, if I see any Briar. I end up facing 0 Briars in all the RTNs, surprisingly. I thought it would be more popular. And the other thing that Oldhim can do is he can try to race. And I think you have to into decks like Dash, Icelander, Dromai. I know people want to fatigue Dromai, but that sounds like a terrible plan to me. I think you lose the long game against Dromai. I don't know how people hope to do it, much more so do it in time.
Yeah.
And so the big question I asked myself was like, how do I do both? And then the second thing I realized was actually I can't fatigue Fi. Fi will kill me before he runs out of cards. And so that totally changed the approach to that matchup and forced me to play a lot more of a mid-range plan into that. So now I sort of have to split between 3 game plans, because I still fatigue Viserai. I still think that's the correct approach to the matchup. But so I just had to think a lot about how do I fit everything in? How do I make the sideboard numbers work out? And I think maybe the biggest realization I made is that Sync Below is just not very good right now. It doesn't line up into the popular decks very well. And so I played 2 copies in my deck for the events, but I cut it entirely for my current build. After playing those events, I think actually I want 0 copies of Sync Below.
Wow. So are you running, so I mean, if you were to go into an event tomorrow, would you be running any defense reactions? Are you still running like red staunches and stuff, or?
Yeah, so red staunches went out for a little bit, but I think they are actually good into Fi, or at least one copy is good into Fi because of either Lava Burst or Salt the Wound. He does have those big attacks, and Staunch Response is the most efficient defense reaction in the game. If you use your 3 resources to Staunch plus Shield or Staunch plus Crown, you're blocking 8 for 2 cards. There is no better deal in this game. That is the best you can do. If you have a Tuna counter, you block 9 for 2 cards.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absurd.
So I'm playing 2 Staunch right now. I think I'm on the second one for the Guardian Mirror. And I'm playing 3 Oasis Respite. That sort of took over the spot a little bit of a Sync Below. And I'm playing 3 Blue Brothers in Arms. That's sort of like a defense reaction.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we have Brothers in Arms and Oasis Respite are a big part of why Sync is just not really needed anymore.
Yeah. And so I don't want to go make this into the Oldhim podcast, but it is something that I'm personally interested in, right? So so Sync Below, just for the viewers at home, yeah, did you end up cutting that card, and why do you think it's bad right now?
If you think about what makes Sync Below good, it's that it blocks 4 for 0. Most of your cards block 3 or block 2 when they're bad at blocking, but Sync Below blocks 4. And so is that a good thing for a card to be able to do? And the answer depends on what are you being attacked with. And so if you're thinking, again, about a card like Staunch, yes, Staunch blocks 8 for 2 cards, but only if they come at you with a big attack. The reason we generally don't want to play Staunch against ninjas is because if everything they're doing is attacking for 4 or less, the efficiency of Staunch is wasted. And what I found is that the efficiency of Sync was wasted. Fi doesn't have a lot of 4 attack stuff. Most of the stuff is 3. Emberblade is 3. Brand with Cinderclaw is 3. Phoenix Flame, even when buffed by different things, are usually 2 or less. Spreading Flames is 3. And so you have this card that's red, and the one thing that it does well, which is block, it doesn't even do that well. On top of the fact that when they do have 4 attack things, you already have stuff like Blue Brothers and Oasis. And in the 5 matchup, I found that those were already hard to utilize well. It was difficult for me to find the spots to even take advantage of the fact those things block for 4, and I had to use them a little bit inefficiently. And so if those are already used inefficiently, and I think those take priority in my list over Sink Below, then I don't think Sink Below fits in the list anymore.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, that's I think that I think this touches on, and this could be a whole like goddamn podcast, I swear. Like just like not Oldham, but just like taking the cards that everybody cutting the sacred cows, right? That's kind of like a colloquialism or whatever, where it's like people who like the other thing is you weren't playing Command and Conquer, right? You were playing a race face instead, because you're like, well, in this like the meta that I'm expecting locally, Command and Conquer is not going to be good. So you played a race face.
I do regret that a little bit.
Oh yeah, well, I was putting you up on a pedestal, and you're just like, no. It's fine.
You know what? I also make mistakes. Actually,
yeah, fair enough.
I do. Yeah,
fair enough. I don't believe it, but no. I mean, it's just as an example, though. There are going to be moments where Command and Conquer feels so good whenever you kill an arsenal, right? It's like sometimes you don't realize that a race face is maybe better. For example. And same thing with Sink Below. Maybe Blue Brothers and Oasis might fill that role. Sink Below does not. I mean, are you going to play Oldham going forward, do you think? Do you think are you ever going to look at different decks? I know that you, sorry, knocked over a pile of Flesh and Blood cards. I know that you had been looking at things like Dash and maybe a couple other CC decks, but are you just sticking with Oldham until he LLs? What's going on?
I am considering trying out Bravo. I think given the fact that the thing you need in the 5 matchup is disruption and not pure defense, Bravo probably does that better. I might go back to Dash at some point. When I was playing it for a bit, it didn't feel as good as I was hoping. It just, nothing blocks as well as Oldham, and I sort of got used to that flexibility in how I distribute my defense and being able to block everything forever. And most decks can't do that, apparently. So it's difficult for me to move away from that. But maybe Bravo. Anathos is very exciting to me.
Anathos, I love swinging for 6 with Anathos. It's one of my favorite cards. Yeah, on that note, because I had played a lot of Oldham, and right now I'm kind of practicing some Rhinoir and testing the waters with that. And I was looking over the deck list, and I was like, how do I fit Oasis Respite in there? I was like, well, I would be using my resources inefficiently, so how do I work in... And I just came to the conclusion that LSS needs to just like make an Earth Brute so I could use Crown of Seeds. But until then, no Oasis Respite in that list for me. All right, so thanks for that breakdown of Oldham, Natan. So Archer, as somebody who Natan has beaten and slash, gotten, whatever. Tell us about your Road to Nationals and your wins, your top 8s.
So the one I won was a Kraken game, Cards and Games in Corvallis. I played 5 for that. And I played an untested build too. Like the night before, I just had like a realization that Epot was like the best card in Fab, and I needed to put 3 in my deck. And turns out that was totally the right decision. But so I played 5 for that, and that worked out really, really well. And then the other one that I top 8'd at, I played Viscerai, and I had worked on a Belittle Minnowism, like a variation from the Haydendale list. Mm-hmm. I cut Sonatas, I cut a few other non-attacks, and just put in more attacks because I wanted to be more consistent on that front. And that deck was really good, but that one wasn't my tournament for whatever reason. I wasn't feeling the right vibes of that one.
Yeah. I mean, still, you top 8'd, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, but I mean, like I was sneaking into top eights all season. Like I was, except for I think one of them, I like snuck in at like 7th and 8th seat, and then won, and then won them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there you go. And hey, those count. People will still copy paste your deck list if you go 3-2 and then win the event. So, let's do. I mean, kind of just go a little bit into the details of Fi, and like, what do you think? What do you think makes the deck powerful? There's, referring back to discourse on Twitter, like, what do you think the deck's getting to be too good and too streamlined? Like, where would you bring Fi to another tournament tomorrow? Is the deck super good? And did you make any? You mentioned epots, but did you make any significant tech choices?
No significant tech choices. I think I like threw CNCs and erase faces in the sideboard, because I like built the 60 and then just like threw in like things I thought I would want as sideboards, and I didn't end up actually like utilizing the sideboard very much. I kind of just played the core 60 into most every game, except for like ones I lost, and like I had like an Oldham plan which was play like 66 cards because I couldn't figure out what I wanted, right? And then like I lost my first Oldham game. And I was like, all right, we'll go to 64. And then I lost my next one. And I was like, we're just going to play 60.
Yeah.
And then I won. So I made it in top 8. But yeah, no significant tech choices. I had watched a video from his name on YouTube is Scar for Scar. He's a New Zealand content creator. He does a lot of deck techs and stuff for the players out there. And he suggested playing Pouncing Lynx into the aggro matchups, but specifically Rune Blades that have a lot of armor, so that the game's not going to go long. You're not going to get a lot of massive momentum value from the game going long. And they have armor so that you're not really disrupting them by forcing them to block out earlier. Sorry, my cat is being a butthead.
Classic cats.
Yeah, so you play Pouncing Lynx in those matchups because Pouncing Lynx is like at minimum worth 5. It can be worth a whole lot more too. Yeah, so I tried that out. I played against a Briar round 1, did it, got Assault the Wound for like 9, like turn 2 or something like that, and I was like, put me ahead, and I just kind of took over the game from there. And then along those same notes, the deck that just won the like European something, the invite only event before the Calling Utrecht, list that won that was like way more into that game plan. Like I was just starting to touch on that, yeah, his list is probably going to become really, really popular. I just sleeved it up too, so. Made some adjustments, but to answer, you asked me this before. I am probably gonna stick with Fi. I have Viscerai on the side. Viscerai is my homeboy. I've Dash too, but Dash is like kind of solidly tier 2. And I don't always play the best deck, but I do like playing decks that feel really, really good.
Right.
So I'll probably stick with Fi. Fi just like Natan alluded to. He deals with fatigue really well. He has recurrable threats. That's a huge thing.
Well, and that's something that you like. I don't know if you realized it then, but like you explained that to me at one point. You're like, I think that like these Phoenix Flames make it so that I can't get fatigue because it's just like recurable damage like over and over, and it's really hard to efficiently block it, and unless you have some sort of thing that banishes from graveyard. I don't know that there's many playable
strategic planning.
Talisman of Cremation.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay. Useless suggestions. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, they're really hard to deal with, and it's the whole thing of like, yeah, like you can crown, you can shield, all that stuff, but like Fi's never breaking the chain, right? So it's like really hard to efficiently block all those things and block everything else. And especially with the like people were on Kodachis for a while, but how do you feel? Like, do you feel like Kodachis have a place in Fi anymore, or is it just Searing Emberblade all the way?
I was on Kodachis for a while, because I'd never played Ninja before, and I'd always like in awe by how good the Kodachis were. I think Emberblade just better. Kodachis is cool there's some builds that like focus on it, but Emberblade's just like pretty efficient. And at first I was like, oh, Kodachis is better into Oldhim because I'll split up all my 1 pings in between multiple sources. But like demanding a whole card from them is like way more impactful than them being able to use all their tools to block the damage.
Which I think we were all surprised by. We all expected the Kodachis to, like, you know, soak up Crown Shield and like your Phoenix Flames are going through or whatever. But just the whole card from Emberblade.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like that's kind of that's another thing that was pointed out at some point in one of our testing games. Like Emberblade is like it's not flashy, right? Like it's a 2 for 3, but it's like it's a Draconic Chain Link. It usually, like, I don't want to say it has natural go again, but it usually has go again. And yeah, and it takes a whole card to block, right? So you can't just crown it or whatever. And then yeah, you come in with 3 more Kodachis in the form of Phoenix Flame, and it's fine.
Definitely.
So, right on. So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think as far as the meta shaping up? And a lot of people are talking about Oldhim. I think a lot of people are like Natan has a game plan for Oldhim, which I really like. A lot of people are kind of like, I don't know, I'm gonna do this like kind of like ice earth like thing, and it's just kind of a muddled. It's like element soup. But Natan has a plan. I like it. Lots of red attacks, lots of stuff like that. Fi is a big player in this meta. A lot of people, I think Natan, you mentioned this earlier. A lot of people have been expecting a lot of Briar, and Briar was really popular according to the LSS. Not deck dump, but their like article breaking down the meta or whatever. Viscera is less popular than we thought, but still doing pretty well. So, what do you guys think is the meta going forward? Like, if you guys were going to prepare for a road to nationals next weekend, right? Like, what would you expect to be up there in the top tiers in the top tables throughout the Swiss rounds?
Bolton.
Go ahead, Archer. I think we're.
I'm just joking. Fi's a better combo deck than Bolton is.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, I expect Fi and the Rune Blades to be the aggro decks of choice. Katsu's like probably pretty close behind.
Katsu.
And yeah, I mean, Katsu got a lot of tools. I just think people are not really playing him as much. Because Fi, I think, probably just does most of what he does better, except for block. Yeah. Katsu can actually block really well. Fi cannot block very well at all. Even if you build towards, it's like trying to go aggro with Oldhim. It's like it's very obvious that the deck is trying to do something it's not built for.
I mean, I think that there's something there, right? Like, I think, and like, I don't know, I haven't sat down to do like the deep dive because I don't know if it's worth my time, and I'm not smart enough or experienced enough with Katsu to do it. But like, Katsu has a lot of the like mid-range tempo tools like Flick Flax, and he has like, he has the ability to just like block, and then have big Lord of the Wind turns. And Fi just has Lord of the Wind turns on every turn. So no blocking though, no blocking. So Katsu, I'm reading that as a dark horse. So yeah, Fi Viscera, Briar. Any other spicy picks or suggestions you think that might show up coming up?
I don't know about spicy, but I think Oldhim is definitely like a solid meta choice. Dromite's been played a lot, but I really haven't seen anything that impressed me with that deck. I think like if you think about why she struggles into Guardians, it's because like if you pop a Phantasm, the turn is just over.
Yeah. And
she has literally no way to get around it, I think. Like, I guess.
Silent Stilettos.
Oh,
Silent Stilettos. Yeah.
And once per game, you can attack with an Ashwing and your turn's not over.
Yeah.
got there.
Well, there's
But,
also what's the what's that blue negate all fan?
Semblance.
Yeah, semblance. Yes.
Semblance, yeah.
That card's
That
hot
card
fire.
seems so bad. Yeah.
It seems really bad, right? Oh, hello. Right.
Anyway, Altum definitely a meta player. Jomai, for some reason, a meta player, but I really haven't been impressed with what I've seen from the deck. And Bravo has been doing really well. I think the like full the Guardian Disruption plan is something that Bravo does better than Oldhim, in my opinion. The like taking some damage to hit back with something that forces cards out of hand. Bravo gets access to Crippling Crush, which in my opinion is a much better card than Oakenold. Yeah, he just does that like sort of mid-rangey sort of defensive plan better than Oldhim does, and I think that is a big part of why he's been sort of successful in the events that Archer and I have seen him in.
Yeah, I mean,
So to continue on from what Ton said, the two Bravos that were in the tournament last weekend, they both made top 8, and they were both top 4. Bravo's my dark horse pick as well. I think Bravo's really, really good right now.
Yeah, I agree with basically what Natan said, right? Like, I think that like the more you the more you lean an Oldhim to be like more tempo, more aggressive, have more big attacks, whatever, the more it's like, well, maybe we should just be on Bravo, right? And I think and like just being able to tear asunder Anathos is like insane. Like I just love that is like one of my favorite lines, because like 7 dominate whoops 7 dominate, like it's so good. And discard 2. So
it's a 3-card hand. It's so sick.
Yeah, it's absurd, right? It's crazy. And then there's of course Crippling Crush and then all the other good Guardian attacks. So yeah, Guardian is, I mean the thing that always kept me off Bravo, right, though, and this is something I want to get your guys' opinion on, is Prism. Because Prism is just, and it could just be that like there's a bunch of weebs in our local meta. I don't know, myself included. Like I brought Prism to a PQ, but like, what is keeping Prism from really thriving in this meta? I know that she's won a few Road to Nationals, but as far as I can tell, like from what you guys have told me, there haven't really been a ton of Prisms floating around, at least in our locals. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I think Prism struggles into most things not Guardian that are in the current meta. I haven't played Prism into Fi in any side, either side of the matchup, but I can't imagine
it's hard.
Prism.
It's hard.
I don't know what you do, like, especially if we agree that like Sync Below is not a good tool anymore. Like if Prism doesn't get to shore up the matchup by playing 0-cost reacts, like how do you get there? How do you manage to like, I guess you race with Heralds? That seems hard. Fi does a lot of damage.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, just as an aside for that, like I feel like the way to do it is with Heralds, maybe not like Tome Vestige Heralds, but just Heralds, because they all block for 3, so you can like kind of do a thing of like block, chip in, block, chip in, and then set up your big like Herald of Erudition turn or whatever. But I don't know. I tried a bunch of different things into Fi and into like Viserai, and I didn't bother testing Oldhim because why would I? And none of them really felt good. Like my win rate against, I mean, and maybe it's just because Archer is a better player than me, but like my win rate into Archer on Prism against Fi and Viserai were both pretty, like it was pretty low. It was pretty rough. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be, I've seen a lot of people posting, they're like 9-0 at Road to Nationals with the Prism, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trash.
Well, I mean, like, Mansand, 9-0'd his Road to Nationals with Levia, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think if you are an experienced pilot and you play your pet deck and you get a little bit lucky, you can absolutely take down pretty much any tournament. Maybe not like the super big ones like the Pro Tour or whatever, but like any local thing with like up to 30, maybe 40 players. Like, so long as you know what you're doing, you know what the meta is like, you have a plan, you can probably win on most things with a little bit of luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get a little lucky with the gem pairings.
Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of running lower on time. So any last notes about the meta before we start to bring or Archer, if you want to, I know we brought this up earlier, but if you want to slip in any wisdom or knowledge about draft, any interesting topics you want to bring up there.
Yeah, for draft, Dromai is really, really hard to play in draft. Icelander's pretty good if you prioritize the right things. I think you kind of basically have to race people. Because the Attack for 20 podcast guys, they mentioned that Icelander's advantage is being able to kill you on your opponent's turn, and that advantage is more pronounced the shorter the game is. And so that made like a lot of sense to me. I think Icelander's really good, but she can lose to Dromai like really easily. And Fi is probably the safest to just force in 3-0, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't force it, but Fi is really, really like you can make a medium deck and 2-1 your pod with Fi by forcing Fi pretty easily. Mm-hmm. And then if you just like fall into a seat that's like a really good Fi seat, you can easily 3-0 the pod. It's so easy to punish the other decks.
Yeah. Natan, do you have any nugget? Oh, go ahead. Do you have any nuggets on the draft?
I was just gonna say, I think less so now, but when the format was very new, this is like the classic aggro dominates the early meta. It took some time to figure out what makes a good Dromai list, what makes a good Icelander list, and when you are facing aggro, each one of the mistakes you make along the way costs you a lot more than when you're facing someone else who's just also like dirtling and trying to figure it out. And so we went to the pre-release and everyone in the top 8 did Fi and Sealed, or like 7 of the 8 people did Fi and Sealed, something crazy like that.
I mean, it's all just like, it's all just so obvious, right? Like it's like a good Dromai list and a good Icelander list. And I've only drafted, I think, like 2 or 3 times. I don't know. I've only drafted a couple of times, and Fi just seems way more obvious than what makes a good Icelander or Dromai list, right? Because like Dromai list, it's like you gotta have a good mix of dragons and like reds, but also blues and yellows, and how many aspects are you making? But with Fi, it's like, oh, give all your shit, go again, and that's it.
Yeah, Dromai needs Ash, and you can either pitch reds or you can play cards that generate Ash.
Yeah,
and then you need ways to use the Ash, either Ash Wings or better dragons. Icelander needs so many blues. It's crazy how many blues Icelander needs. Like I had a draft where I was the only Icelander at the table, and I didn't have enough blues because I didn't know to prioritize it enough. I had like 18, and I definitely wanted just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you just like have your go again attacks, then you have more go again attacks, and then you have like a few attacks that close the chain, and like,
yeah,
great, you got there, you did it. This is a Fi deck, and it will be absolutely functional, and it will beat any non-functional Dromai or Icelander list, which are very easy to create.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for your wisdom and knowledge and experience, etc., etc. Archer, I know you're going to PT Lil. Natan, weren't you like, I thought you were like qualified on XP or something. Maybe not. Nope. You're qualified for Nats. Either way, both of you make a prediction for what's going to win PT Lil in a few weeks. Assuming no bans or anything. I know a lot of people are out for blood at this very moment, but make a call right now. Natan, you go first.
I go first. I'm going to steal Archer's pick, which is Bravo.
Bravo, okay.
It just seems really, really good. I think about like the matchup spread, and I think Bravo is probably favored into Fi. I don't know with the Viscerai matchup. I assume it's at least close.
Really favored for Bravo.
I think Bravo is at least a little bit, right? Like at least like 55-45 or maybe a little bit higher.
I think Bravo destroys Dromai. I have no idea how Dromai can possibly win the matchup. Everything has Phantasm. Bravo has nothing but 6 attack stuff. I think Bravo is favored into Oldhim. I know you disagree a little bit, Tim, but
I mean, I don't know. I think the Bravo's just lower to the ground, and I think you're right? Like I think Bravo is probably just, I don't know. It could go both ways in my experience, but I think you've played more Oldhim than me at this point. So
I think Bravo does better into Prism than Oldhim because you can just go face every turn by just pitching a couple more resources, which Oldhim does not have the option for often. So like, what beats Bravo? Like, I mean, like it's still unfavored into Prism, but like, I think with the way the matchup spread looks like, I don't know. It seems like the meta would have to change pretty significantly for Bravo to be a bad pick.
Yeah.
I know the one thing that beats Bravo is just defense reactions, which is like kind of silly to say, but like in a meta that doesn't want to play defense reactions, Bravo's really, really good. But in the Starvo meta, I mean, that was a different Bravo, but I know old Bravo struggled because everyone was playing defense reactions. And so like in the list that I said that won the event before the Calling Utrecht, he runs Sync Blows in his Phi list only for the Bravo matchup. And I'm like, that totally makes sense. Because you need the defense you need to be able to get around, dominate somehow.
Yeah.
You need to not spend 2 cards to block Crush the Weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad.
Crush the Weak is like really good. Like I remember the first time I saw the card, I was like, oh, that seems pretty powerful, but it like didn't fit into the meta. And so nobody played it. And now everybody's like, oh my God, Crush the Weak is the tech card. So
yeah, because everyone's playing Belittle.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? It's like kind of shuts down your strategy. Cool. Yeah. So Archer, what about you? What's your dark horse? Like, or not? It doesn't have to be a dark horse. Like, what do you think if you had to pick right now? Who's gonna win Pro Tour or Lil besides you? And whatever hero you're playing.
Well, yeah, if I don't win it on whatever deck I end up deciding to play, I don't know. I feel like Briar might win it because like Briar's like just an inconsistent deck, so like you just have to get really lucky, right? And that's like what winning a big tournament is. And like if they get into top 8 and they just get like see a channel in the first 3 turns in every single game, they will win that game.
Fair enough.
Most likely.
Okay. I think both of those picks are awesome, and I will shame both of you publicly if you were wrong in the slightest. So, well, cool. Well, thanks guys for joining me. It's really good to get us all in a room, together and sharing our stuff. But yeah, cool. Any last words for the audience before I shut us down?
Red Glacial is really good. Forgot to mention that in my like little deck tech. It's just like it does exactly what the deck needs in the matchups where you want to go aggro. It doesn't give your opponent the option to just block out when it's convenient. And I think you need that to win those games. I think I'd have lost to a bunch of Dromais along the way if I didn't have that card, and I think everyone should play it. Every Ultimate player should play it, and probably also Red Macho Grande.
Yeah, Red Macho Grande is pretty sick in Oldhim. I heard some salty Dromai player after you disrespected them with the Red Macho Grande, and he's like, man, I got Red Macho Grande.
That's such a fun game. I ended the game at 21 or something.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's a blowout.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Red Macho Grande.
Yeah, they never expected the Macho Grande. Okay. Well, boys, thanks. I haven't figured out a good outro for this podcast yet, but here we are doing an outro. thanks everybody for listening. Oh, like and subscribe. That's what you should do. You should like and subscribe. It's going to be somewhere down here.
And stay tuned for further content that we're all going to take part in.
Also true. That's why you should like and subscribe, because you get notifications and shit. So, click the things and do the stuff. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks again, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Galaxies and universe tried everything to make it work, but we can't stop. No, we can't stop the sky from falling. Galaxies and universe tried everything to make it work.